I love telling all my dates that I love CBT. Is that like an opening? Like, is that like a first date conversation you have? Like, hey, I'm into CBT, and then you just wait. Wait to make the joke. Every time, still not sure why I'm single. Yeah, I'm sure you'll figure it out someday. Play the Nintendo 64. Want to go on a date? That will surely get you no dates. Are you saying if I wear my Nintendo 64 backpack to a date, it won't go well? No, I'm just saying there might be a question about it, and are you prepared to talk about the N64 backpack? If so, I mean that, like, my advice will always be like, I know it probably sucks if you're like trying to find a date and stuff. Like, you don't want to like lower your options because you probably already feel like it's slim pickings, right? But like, you definitely want to like get those things out of the way. Like, if it's a girl who like fucking hates gamers and isn't gonna have their mind changed on it, at least not easily, it's probably better that you get out of there or do something to just be like, I don't know, because we talked about that, like, you know, I've been like, don't tell a girl or a guy that you're a gamer. Guy gamers are, you know, fucking awful because they never pay attention to their girlfriends and just play video games all the time, and girl gamers don't exist. So, you know, there's all those stigmas. But yeah, what if it's a guy that hates gamers? I mean, yeah, like a priest, at least is okay with games, but I'd love to play games. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's, you know, wouldn't you rather wait a little bit longer to find somebody who's more open to that rather than take what you can get? I mean, obviously, like when you're in the moment, that's hard advice to take, I think. But yeah, wait long enough, Jules. I ain't getting any younger. Yeah, and then you'll end up with somebody who fucking you hate, and then you'll be even worse off. You'll end up with somebody. You'll end up with somebody who would make you prefer you're alone. Cervantes talking about how like dating apps suck and going to bars sucks. I mean, yeah, like I totally agree. You want to socialize at events that line up with your interests. Some people like going to the bar, you know. Some people like fucking drinking. I think that's a good time. You know, if you like D&D and shit, try to find like D&D like card shops or like groups or whatever. You don't like bar. Yeah, it's hard, but there are actually apps for that. Like there's the Meetup app where it's like more like you can find like a group of people who are into a certain thing, and you know, they do little like events where everyone gets together. I've never done one, but there's a Pomeranian group that I joined that I'm like, damn, I want to do a Pomeranian event where they'll go and like they'll do shit like fucking beer tasting, but bring their Pomeranians, and then they all just like run around on the ground. Sounds fucking amazing. Yeah. Usually like the more direct you are, usually the less creepy you are, but it's also kind of a double-edged sword. Like the more thought you put into it, I think the creepier it ends up being. The problem is finding people that I actually feel interested in. One of the biggest things that I find with people who are single for a long time is they start attributing a lot of their problems to being solved if they had a partner. And that it's frustrating to kind of, I feel like, to sometimes hear that, but like a lot of the time you'll be with a partner and those things will actually be things that make the relationship more difficult. It's a weird like Chinese finger trap situation where like I feel like you're at your best to be in a relationship when you don't need a relationship a lot of the time. Uh-oh. Can I get around that bomb? Nope. I have so many hobbies that I wouldn't have time for them. That was me when I started YouTube. I definitely kind of felt like when I started YouTube in 2010, I was dating somebody, and I honestly felt like it was really hard to kind of juggle all of those things. And when we broke up, I really felt like I didn't want to be in a relationship with somebody unless it like enhanced my life, the life that I chose to do like YouTube videos and make that kind of a big part of my life, at least at the time. And it took a long time before I met somebody like that, but met Adriana eventually. But there was definitely kind of this feeling of like, I was like, I'm done just dating because I feel like I need to, you know? And then eventually I really kind of sat at like, I'm only going to date somebody that I want to date, which sounds weird, but sometimes like, I feel like it's really easy to kind of get sucked in this feeling of like, I'm just dating whatever I can get, you know? And that's not where you want to be. And that's not where you have to be. And if you tell yourself like, oh, well, I'm so unattractive and I'm so unlikable and I'm so awful, I just have to take whatever I can get, and hold on, it's, dude, like fucking people who are like unattractive, people who are, you know, morbidly obese, you know, psychotic assholes, they get laid all the time. They meet people all the time. Have confidence, no confidence. Yeah, and pursuing hobbies and having a good time is a great way to just kind of like go through life, you know? A lot of people have a hard time finding hobbies that they enjoy. So if you're there, you're pretty good. You're ahead. What if I can't tell if I'm arrow or I just haven't clicked for me? I'm not the person to answer that, because I'm definitely not arrow or asexual or anything. Yeah, I mean, I always say it seems so obvious, but the biggest thing, nobody's attractive to everybody. Nobody's unattractive to everybody. And that's just how it is. So like, it's very easy to feel like, oh, like I'm so unattractive and so unlikable and I'll never be liked by anybody. But it's just statistically not true, you know? Doesn't Jules have the answer to every problem? True. I feel like I pretend to. I honestly, like, I don't feel like I could give even a perspective on aromantic or, you know, asexual or anything like that. Who can we ask if not your dad? Your mom. I don't know who your mom is, but I feel like it's no label you give yourself is permanent, you know? So don't feel like it's that much of a commitment. If you're just like, yeah, I feel like this is kind of how I feel now, and oh my God, I just want to know how it feels to kind of identify with that. Statistically speaking, a 30-year-old trans woman has slim pickings for options. Bro, a attractive white male who, you know, everybody probably thinks is like the fucking, you know, oh, if I was just like a fucking, you know, cis white male, it would be easy. Everyone's got slim pickings, but nobody has no pickings. It just depends on how fucking patient you are and how much fucking empathy you give yourself. Because if you're telling yourself, oh, it's too hard for me to date anybody, like nobody's ever gonna love me, that is not being empathetic to yourself, and that is very quickly gonna turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Might already have. I knew I would not feel comfortable meeting a new person and going over yeah. It's not easy, but I feel like you really probably build it up in your head a lot worse than it ends up being, you know? Like, I feel like once you're actually sitting down and talking with somebody who's listening to you, and somebody who genuinely wants you to like them, I feel like you'll find it's a lot easier to have that conversation in real life than it is in your head, you know, while you're preparing for it. But again, it's tough because this isn't a scenario that I'm super privy to. I wish I had your optimism. You can. It's possible for you to. You can't. You can't have that optimism. It's just going to be hard. Sometimes it's easier to be self-loathing, and it's easier to protect yourself by giving yourself low expectations so that you don't get hurt as much. But that's actually what in turn hurts you the most. I've never asked anyone out before. A lot of pressure comes on the guy to do that. I don't know if I have the nerve when the time comes. That sounds like you're building it up. I mean, going out with somebody can literally be like, hey, do you know any good coffee shops? You know, would you take me to a coffee shop? Like, or I know a good coffee shop. You want to go? Yeah, and there is a lot of women that will take the first step for sure. But that's not to say that like you should assume that they're going to, because they probably won't. Yeah, that's a great point, Mountain Drew. Most people are nervous before a test, but not so much when taking it. It should be organic, it shouldn't be forced. And if you're feeling like there's a lot of pressure, you're probably feeling very desperate for it. Intelligent people have the worst time with dating as they overanalyze things. I don't think it's a competition, and I don't think they have it any worse or better. You know, if you're not a little bit analytical and you're just kind of going with anybody and you have like no standards, you're gonna end up in rough spaces for sure. Not a single person alive can't benefit from good therapy. I'm a firm believer in that. And if you have somehow convinced yourself that you don't need therapy and other people need it more than you, you're probably worse off than you think. Exercise. Writing a letter to my anxious side to nurture it. Yes, very, 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 very powerful shit. Because there are sides to you, you know, there are different emotions that you feel, different feelings that you feel. Be happy with yourself and be too searching. Just be out there and show people you are a likable person. Someone can come across will be into you, and don't be too, oh, gotcha. Don't be too searching. Yeah. Put yourself out in situations that you may see other people. And, you know, that might be hard if you're anxious, have social traumas, or it might just be hard for you, you know? It's not as easy. Like, some people are just introverted, you know? I like to think of myself as kind of ambivert. I definitely have phases where, like, I need to be around people, and other times that I need to fucking fuck off. But yeah, I think everybody's somewhere on the spectrum, but I think it's definitely a lot harder for introverts to meet people, like, flat out, for sure. But you do have some mad social anxiety. Yeah, I mean, social anxiety kind of builds up upon itself. When it gets too much, you really have to start tackling the root of the problem. My trick to conquering social anxiety is to lean into it. It's not that off. I mean, you can lean into it. My trick to beating conquering social anxiety for myself has always been not exhausting all of my resources trying to figure out every possible scenario that can happen, and being and having faith that I will have time to react if things are uncomfortable or I do something wrong. It seems simple, but oh god damn it, are you serious?